Welcome to day 14 of our podcast, 30 Lessons I've Learned in 30 Years of Ministry. And I want to speak on, now this is about a church or an organization, and one of the biggest lessons I learned as a person is that you have to learn to unlock the capital that is within. And it's like what we were speaking about I think 2 days ago, unlocking the capital that is within, either inside the church or unlocking the capital that is within the organization. Everything you need for your growth, for your multiplication, is right in the people, all right, or the resources that you have in your hands at that particular point in time. The question is, how do you not just manage it now, but how are you making use of it? You know, Jesus gave to every person according to their ability, which is the ability to handle and to manage. And He's not going to put people into your own hands if you are not first and foremost interested in unlocking that which He has placed on the inside of them. And that starts by respecting the fact that people carry things within. And once you understand that, then it changes your attitude and approach to the people. Now, I just want to speak from it today from a certain perspective. A head of an organization, that's why it's called the head of organization, is the head. Right, but he's not or she's not the hands, feet, all right, neck, different parts of the body. And no matter what the head conceives or thinks, the execution has to be carried out by other parts of the body. And the execution can only be carried out effectively if other parts of the body have clear understanding of what that particular assignment is, which means the same thing that flows in the head must flow within. Now, this is what I'm getting to. God distributes roles and gives to different parts of the body different assignments so that nobody thinks, as I say, there's no schism. Nobody thinks about themselves more than they ought to think. But everybody thinks soberly as He has dealt to every person the measure of faith. If you read it in the context of that particular usage in the book of Romans, He says, to some, all right, He's put this in this office and that office and this office. And that's why He says you don't think more highly than you ought to think. Now, even though God gives you the vision and the revelation, and that is the way it works, God is not going to give the vision, neither is He going to give the revelation, all right, to any part of the body apart from the head. Even when Joseph was the covenant person in the organization, God did not give the vision to Joseph. What God gave Joseph was the gift of the interpretation of the dream. He doesn't break ranks. And a lot of people miss it here in the time that they think that you belong to an organization, they want to become the visionary inside the organization. You don't, what you are saying is not correct. God didn't give you. Now, the role people should play is the interpreter there. So even though Pharaoh, we'll say this here, was not even inclined, or Nebuchadnezzar was even out of alignment with God, and the vision was the judgment of Nebuchadnezzar, God still gave him the dream because he was the head. And then Daniel came and interpreted the dream to him and told him that the interpretation of this vision that you have just brought is that this is your end in this kingdom. And this thing will be restored back to you and explained. Same thing we have with Joseph and Pharaoh. So he had the dream of what God was going to do in the next 14 years. Joseph came in as a covenant person, carrying the Spirit of God. God did not give it to Joseph. He gave it to Pharaoh. And then Joseph came in and brought that interpretation. Now, so the visioner or the person of revelation must understand that this is my assignment. And when you receive a revelation from God, it is important that God has given people within that organization the ability to interpret that vision that has been given unto you. So you must, all right, listen well for the interpretation of that vision. Now, in the interpretation, there must be no violation of that which was revealed unto you. The boundaries must not be crossed. That's the business of the person who is leading, that this is what it is. Okay, we are not going beyond this. We are not going beyond this. But then people give an interpretation to it. So, for example, when we started the platform, I didn't give it the name, the platform. I came with the revelation and said, this is what I feel want to do. I want to do this and do this. And somebody in the congregation said to me, but workers, we can tinker with this and make it just for workers. And I said, that's right. And I explained to somebody and said, what we should call it is the platform, because it's going to become a platform for people to come in, just stand and air things. And the prophetic nature of that name has unfolded over the years. But I don't have any thing to say that somebody else gave it the name. I shared the vision and somebody saw it and said, this is what we should call it. All right. I was a member of congregation at that time. I shared it. Somebody said, this is what we should say it. And when we saw May 1st, I said, all right, there's another gap here on October 1st. Let's go into October 1st also and do it in this particular way, and the vision. Now, I want to read something here from 2 Chronicles here, and this is very, very important here in terms of receiving a vision and subjecting that vision to proper interpretation from people. Because once the thing has been interpreted by the people and everything that has really, really worked in terms of the implementation of it, you come with the vision and then people give the interpretation. We started a cell system that was very unique. And what happened was I got the revelation of this cell system here, but I wanted to have a proper interpretation. So I will call randomly from the congregation people I didn't even know. And I said, look, God, people, just get me people that I don't know. I want to discuss them. I take them into conference rooms and we'll sit down together, groups of 40 or 30, and I'll talk about the vision. And they'll say, why don't you do it this way? We can do it this way. And I did that with what we'll call focus groups about 3 or 4 times. And then it crystallized. And I said, this is it. We took it now to the people to test it so that we can further fine-tune it there and make sure we got it right. So we tested it and we saw that the idea worked because it was oversubscribed there. And then once it became oversubscribed there, then we now started breaking it down, all right, to fine-tune that. And that's the way things work. It starts out with God giving the revelation, but then you've got to understand that there's what is called interpretation. And the people that he has placed around you, I'm not saying that it has to be a certain set of people every single time. If you do that, you're going to create an oligarchy and you're going to have a problem again on your hands. All right. But every single person within that place can give an interpretation to it that will be helpful and be extremely powerful. So let me just pull out this scripture here. So what happened was Jehoshaphat feared and set himself, that's 2 Chronicles 20 and verse 3, and proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. And they gathered themselves together, that's Judah, to ask help of the Lord. Even out of the cities of Judah, they came to seek the Lord. And then God answered that in verse 16 and said, tomorrow you go down against them. And he said, behold, they come up from the cliff of Ziz, and you shall find them at the end of the brook before the wilderness of Jeruel. You shall not need to fight in this battle. What God said was, set yourselves, stand still, and you shall see the salvation of the Lord. Now, what God said and revealed to Jehoshaphat was, set yourselves, stand still, and you shall see the salvation of the Lord, O Judah and Jerusalem. Fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. That's all that was said. Now, what did Jehoshaphat do that was wise? Because if you just take that literally the way it is, you may just stand still and fold your hands and be waiting for that. In verse 21, he says, and when he had consulted with the people. Now, he didn't start by consulting with the people. He started by going to God in prayer and calling a fast and seeking help from God. Listen, you cannot do it alone. Too many people are carrying burdens that they have no real business carrying those burdens. And it's weighing down on them and forcing them into other things. So he says he consulted with the people. And after he consulted with people, he appointed singers unto the Lord, that they should praise the beauty of his holiness. So he consulted with the people. He went to the people and said, look, this is a revelation we've got from God. And they all discussed and said, this is what I believe the Lord is saying here. And in what they were saying, he did not feel any violation of the revelation that God had given to him. I mean, people can interpret something, and that's where leadership really counts, because when people interpret something and you know on the inside of yourself that they are going beyond the boundaries of that revelation, you must have the strength of character to say, nope, we're not going beyond this particular point. Nope, we're not going beyond this particular point. Right? So people will come in and say, look, we can do this. These are possibilities. We can do this. And they can be bringing worldly ideas into that particular thing. It's your business to put your foot down and say, no, these are the boundaries of it. We build according to the pattern that was shown in the mount. This is it. Right? But within the confines of that particular revelation, there's a lot of interpretation that we can bring to the table in order. And you'll find people that bring interpretation, it resonates with you inside your heart. The light bulb goes off. You know, this is an explanation, right, of that particular revelation, because it's become clearer and all of this. And people bring their various expertise from their background into it. And once you begin to practice that, and you must understand at the beginning, don't expect that people will be at the level of you that you are called by God, and that becomes the work that you have in your life. Right? But as you practice this and get the culture, and culture is so powerful, that's the key thing here in terms of success. You get that culture into the place and people understand that culture there. Then they understand that, oh, this is how things operate within this place where the Spirit of God is moving, and these are the unseen boundaries where and so people begin now to interpret within those boundaries there. When we say boundaries now, which means you're not crossing into anything that you picked up from the world there. And then you put that expertise into it, and then you begin to, all right, have that. You're going to find that you have a lot of rest in ministry. You're going to find that you have a greater level of commitment from the people. Okay, greater level of commitment from people. You'll find out that things are way more efficient. You find that people will take the initiative on things because that spirit rests upon them, because of the communion and the fellowship, that's the word here, you had in explaining the vision and in the interpretation of that vision. And nothing will cause a church to grow more than the laity unleashed. In other words, the laity there now begins to drive the growth of the church. It's no longer just the single person that God has called. You can only get it to a certain point. And then after that point, the issue is unlocking the capital that is within, so that there is that massive growth that will happen, all right, within that particular space. And when that growth now begins to happen and that is unleashed inside, you enter into a place of rest, you have more vision, greater efficiency, greater commitment, and nothing will give joy in leadership more than that. All right. I hope that blessed you, and see you tomorrow. Don't forget, September 3rd to 8th is when we are having our 30th anniversary celebration. Right. Morning sessions and evening sessions. The mornings will be in the Covenant Place in Domi, and the evenings will be at the Covenant Temple in Lekki. God bless you all.